Donald John Trump. We dissect his policies, we rage at his tweets, we are mesmerized by his legal dramas, but we are collectively refusing to name the catalyst, the root, the accelerating engine of what can only be described as a gathering, national and global crisis. We're not talking about ideology. We are not talking about politics. We are talking about the irreversible, measurable, and profoundly consequential decline of an octogenarian mind entrusted in seeking again to be entrusted with the catastrophic powers of the modern presidency. This is not a partisan attack. It is a medical and moral intervention. The man is not well. He's old, and his faculties are betraying him in plain sight. And yet, a nation, a media ecosystem, and a political system hobbled by cowardice and spectacle treat this not as a five-alarm fire, but as just another episode in the reality show. The world watches, aghast, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Some wait, hoping for a different kind of drop. The drop of the guillotine, the bullet, the hand of fate. I have, in my darkest moments of watching the slow-motion train wreck, been among them. The thought has crossed my mind. For the sake of global stability, for peace, he should have been removed from the board long ago. That is the brutal, unsayable calculus of real politics, when a mad king holds the coat. But we're not savages. We're a society of laws and medicine, or we are supposed to be. So why in the face of such glaring evidence has there been no serious public and definitive medical diagnosis? Why is the 25th Amendment, designed for precisely this spectral threat of incapacity, a ghost? And why does his profound documented association with a convicted pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, get a fraction of the forensic scrutiny applied to a British prince? This is the story of the great American evasion, a confrontation with the truth we are too polite, too frightened, or too corrupted to speak. Let's begin with the brain. The organ at the center of this storm. We have benchmarks. The Donald Trump of the 80s, for all his bravado, spoke with a relative coherence. Fast forward to now. Listen, really listen. In the early weeks of 2026, the American presidency has drifted into a state of functional paralysis, a condition where the executive branch is less a steering mechanism for the nation and more a containment vessel for the erratic impulses of an octogenarian leader. Donald Trump, now 79 and approaching his 80th year, represents the ultimate stress test for a constitution that never envisioned a nuclear-armed hospice. The crisis we face is not merely biological, it is institutional cowardice. We are witnessing the final chaotic chapter of a gerontocracy that has prioritized the vanity of the individual over the stability of the global order. The year 2025 was marked by a series of cognitive glitches that in any other profession would trigger an immediate mandatory leave. From his unilateral late-night social media declaration of himself as the acting leader of Venezuela, to his repeated confusion of current world leaders with ghosts of the 1990s. The president's decision-making has moved from disruptive to random. Scientific consensus on aging, which the White House dismisses as fake news, remains stubborn. The brain's ability to filter noise from signal, to manage high-stress variables, and to resist impulsive dopamine chasing hits a biological wall. When the president lurches from threatening trade wars with allies to musing about genius babies and local whales, we are not seeing a strategy. We are seeing a neural fraying played out on a global stage. There is a bitter irony in the American administration's current push for the public charge rule, a policy designed to penalize immigrants who might become a burden on the state due to age or health. By the administration's own logic, a leader whose cognitive health requires constant curation by a circle of handlers is the ultimate public charge. The cost of this instability is measured in more than just gaffes. It is measured in the global stability risk. When the world's largest economy and military are directed by a leader whose stamina is maintained by a 79-year-old superstition and high-dosage aspirin, the risk of a calculation error, A war started by a misunderstanding or a market crash triggered by a confused tweet becomes the baseline, not the exception. To be clear, this is not an argument for violence, which is the refuge of those who have lost the ability to reason. It is an argument for rigorous, transparent accountability. If we allow the American presidency to remain a stage for the unending sunset of a single man's ego, we are complicit in the decline. The 25th Amendment was not written for a coup. It was written for a reality check. The world deserves an American president who is sane. We must demand a standard of fitness that reflects the gravity of the nuclear codes. To do anything less is to let the Republic of America go gentle into that dark night. The speeches are not just provocative, they are syntactically chaotic. They are windows into a struggling process. Tangents swallow whole paragraphs. Simple names elude him. He claims to have invented phrases, concepts, even historical moments that exist only in the fog of his memory. He confuses cities, countries, continents. He narrates stories where he's both hero and spectator. Battling terrorists that didn't exist in the scenario he's describing. This isn't just Trump. This is the implication of lifelong traits by the great disinhibitor. Age-related cognitive decline. Possible frontotemporal lobe changes where judgment and impulse control reside. The filters are gone. The rambling is not a strategy, it's a symptom, and what has been the medical establishment's response? A farce. Remember Ronnie Jackson? The White House physician who stood before the nation and declared Trump's cognitive exam so remarkable it was unbelievable. He framed a basic screening test for dementia as if it were a superpower. It was a betrayal of the Hippocratic Oath in service to political protection. Where are the neurologists? Where are the geriatric specialists demanding a full independent workup? Their silence is malpractice on a global scale. We would not let a 79-year-old pilot fly a 747 without rigorous regular testing. We would question a 79-year-old surgeon's motor skills and recall before letting him operate, yet we entertain the idea of handing the nuclear football to a man whose public presentations are clinically suspect. This is the height of societal irrationality. This isn't academic. The unmoored mind has direct violent consequences. Let's walk through the gallery of horrors. Decisions so irrational they bend the fabric of geopolitics. The Venezuelan oil gambit. In 2020, facing crashing oil prices, Trump's solution was not diplomatic. It was literally piratical. He directed the seizure of Iranian fuel aboard foreign tankers bound for Venezuela, a country already in crippling crisis. He sent a flotilla of warships to the Caribbean in a blatant, muscle-flexing blockade. Think about this. Not sanctions, not negotiations. The outright forceful capture of another nation's assets on the high seas. This is the behavior of a 19th century colonial admiral, not a 21st century statesman. It risked a direct naval confrontation, while his mind seemed fixated on the theatrical win of capturing someone else's oil. It was a move of staggering recklessness, born of a simplistic, zero-sum worldview that age has stripped of any nuance or caution. The abandonment of the Kurds and the biblical oil guard. After relying on Kurdish fighters who bore the brunt of the ground war against ISIS, Trump, in a phone call with Turkey's Erdogan, suddenly and without consulting his entire security apparatus, gave a green light for a Turkish invasion. He left loyal allies to be slaughtered. Why? The rationale shifted by the hour. But then the revealing obsession surfaced. He repeatedly stated the US would keep its troops in Syria, not to stabilize the region, not to support allies, but to secure the oil. We're keeping the oil, he said. I like oil. We're keeping the oil. He framed it as a personal prize. The complex Middle East, in his crumbling cognitive map, was reduced to a cartoon, a treasure chest of beautiful oil to be guarded. This is not strategy. It is the literal minded fixation of a declining mind. Remember the love letters to Kim and the fire and fury? The oscillation was manic. One moment, fire and fury like the world has never seen. The next, he was in love with the murderous dictator Kim Jong-un. He unilaterally legitimized a nuclear-armed regime, halted military exercises crucial to regional allies, and got nothing, absolutely nothing in return on denuclearization. His advisors spun it as diplomacy. It was emotional incontinence. The mind, unable to hold a consistent, tough-minded strategy, vacillated between adolescent bluster and sentimental delusion, with the security of the entire Korean peninsula in the balance. Then there was the geriatric stability of others. Yes, others are old. Biden is old. McConnell is old. Pelosi is old, and yes, they show slips. But observe the pattern. Their decisions, however you may disagree, operate within a framework of institutional logic. The contrast is not between left and right, it is between stability and volatility, between a mind that synthesizes and a mind that splinters. And then there's the corruption not just of the mind, but of the soul. A true test of a system's integrity is whom it holds accountable and whom it lets slide. Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire pedophile who operated a global trafficking ring for the powerful. His closest associates are the subjects of justifiable burning public inquiry. Prince Andrew has been stripped of titles, sued, and globally humiliated. The scrutiny was merciless. But Donald Trump? I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump said in a 2002 interview, he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. The flight logs, the parties at Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach, the decades of social and financial entertainment. Yet where is the relentless front-page federal pressure campaign? Where are the victims interviewed specifically about him on prime time? The investigation into Epstein's circle seemed to hit an invisible titanium wall named Trump. Why? Is it because the Department of Justice was his? Is it because the media, for all its anti-Trump posture, still treats this line of inquiry as a third rail? This is not a coincidence, it's a protection racket. A functioning system would have pursued this with the same vigor as it pursued Prince Andrew. A declining mind, paranoid and combative, is allowed to hide behind a wall of impunity, while a weaker, less politically potent royal is fed to the wolves. This tells us everything about where real power lies, and what it is still permitted to conceal. This brings me to the darkest thought, the one that lingers in the back channels of every capital. In the private conversations of national security veterans, and yes, in the minds of citizens who see the trajectory and feel terror. This brings me to the darkest thought, the one that lingers in the back channels of world capitals, in the private conversations of national security veterans. And yes, in the minds of citizens who see the trajectory and feel terror. The thought is assassination, removal for world peace. I have felt it. Watching the erratic moves with Venezuela, with North Korea, with NATO, with a virus he called a hoax, as hundreds and hundreds of people died. The thought crystallizes. This man is a clear and present danger. The most rational surgical solution for the survival of millions might be his elimination. It is a clean, brutal calculus. One life for billions in stability. But to voice this is to step into the abyss. This is why we have the 25th Amendment. This is why we have election. This is why we have a medical profession. The solution to a dangerously unfit leader in a civilized republic is not a bullet. It is a diagnosis. It is not a covert plot. It's a constitutional process. My anger, my profound frustration is that these civilized tools have utterly failed. His cabinet was stocked with sycophants. The party is in thrall. The doctors were puppets. The press treats it as gossip. So we are left trapped between the unthinkable solution of violence and the unbearable reality of a system too corrupted to heal itself. The assassination fantasy is not a call to action. It is the scream of a citizen watching all the fail-safes fail. It is the ultimate indictment of a broken polity. So here we stand at the precipice. Donald Trump is a man deep into the voyage of age, showing every sign of a mind that can no longer navigate the complex leather world it seeks to command. His decisions are not cunning, they are chaotic. His foreign policy is not bold, it is demented. His associations are not merely shady, they are criminal and grotesquely under-examined. The silence surrounding this is a conspiracy against the American people and the world. It is a conspiracy of physicians who won't speak, of politicians who won't act, and a media that profits from the circus without naming the cause, and of a citizenry numbed into accepting the unacceptable. We must break this silence, not with violence, which would only matter the pathology, but with unbearable, relentless, factual noise. Demand the full, independent neurological evaluation. Revive the 25th Amendment as a real tool, not a historical curiosity. Pursue the abstain connections without fear or favor. Make cognitive fitness a non-negotiable, transparent standard for the presidency. The man is unhinged. We all see it. The world sees it. The history books, when written, will marvel not at his madness, but at our madness in allowing it. They will ask, why did they not act when the evidence was so clear? Our time to answer that question is running out. The clock is ticking, in sync with the aging, erratic mind that holds our fate in its trembling hands. We must have the courage to say what we see before it's too late for all of us. Demand the diagnosis, insist on the standard, break the silence. Anger is often dismissed as bias that is convenient for power. In reality, anger is what remains when evidence has been ignored, warnings have been waved away, and accountability has been postponed in the name of comfort. A serious society does not confuse noise with strength or persistence with wisdom. A serious society demands restraint from those who command extraordinary power. For nearly a decade, the world has been asked to accept volatility as leadership. Impulse as instinct and strategy. We've been told this is toughness. We've been told it is authenticity. We've been told it's simply how he is. It's none of those things. It is indulgence. Age is not the accusation here. Refusal to submit to accountability is. There is a taboo in modern politics. Questioning fitness is treated as cruelty. The taboo protects incumbents and endangers everyone else. Pilots are tested. Surgeons are re-credentialed. Judges retire. Politics pretends that time confers immunity from scrutiny. This taboo exists because it is useful. It allows parties, donors, and media institutions to avoid confrontation. When scrutiny is forbidden, indulgence takes its place. Fitness for leadership is measured by how decisions are made under pressure. Donald Trump's record shows a consistent pattern. Impulse first, process later, if at all. Consider foreign policy by threat and reversal. This is not about silencing dissent or punishing personality. It's about insisting that power submits to judgment. Power does not entitle anyone to forever. Democracies endure by enforcing limits before history enforces them brutally. That is the reckoning with delay, and that delay has a cost.